When you're 5 years old, your parents are God. Whatever they do is normal. If they eat cereal at midnight, that's normal. If they pray before bed, that's normal. If they take you into a basement lined with black salt and make you sit in a circle of unlit candles while they chant in a language you've never heard, you think every kid does that on a Tuesday. My name is Elena. I'm 26 now. I live in a high-rise apartment in Chicago. It has 3 locks on the door, deadbolts, and the lights never go entirely out. People ask me why I'm jumpy, why I don't go to family reunions, why I don't have pictures of my childhood on the mantle. The truth is, I don't have a childhood. I have a survival story. My parents weren't monsters on the outside. My dad was a senior accountant. My mom volunteered at the library. We lived in a beautiful, sprawling colonial house in upstate New York. It sat on 5 acres of dense, private woods. That wood was the perimeter of my cage. Inside that house, there was a heavy oak door at the end of the hallway in the basement. It didn't have a regular doorknob. It had a heavy brass latch, the kind you see on old walk-in freezers. I was 6 the first time I saw what was behind it. It wasn't a storage room. They called it the sanctuary. There were no windows. The walls were painted a matte, light-absorbing black. In the center was a raised stone slab, not marble, but rough, jagged slate. The air always smelled like copper, rotting lilies, and cheap paraffin wax. That night my mother wore a robe that wasn't white or black. It was a deep, bruised purple. She looked at me, smiled, and said, "Time to wake up the earth, Elena. Let's talk about how a cult actually operates. Forget the movies with the cloaks and the Hollywood special effects. The reality is much colder. It's systematic. It's bureaucratic. Our group called themselves the Order of the White Root. There were exactly 12 families involved in our inner circle, high society people, doctors, a local judge, a real estate mogul. Every lunar cycle they gather at our house. My job as a child was simple. I was the vessel of choice. Because I was innocent, they believed my presence anchored whatever energy they were trying to pull out of the dirt. I remember the solstice ritual when I was 9. The basement was packed. The air was thick with the smoke of dried mugwort and sulfur. They made me sit on the floor, beneath the slate table. My knees were tucked to my chest. Above me I could hear the rhythmic scraping of metal on stone. My father started the invocation. His voice would drop an octave when he chanted. It didn't sound like him. It sounded like something using his throat as a speaker. The root drinks, the blood binds, the earth remembers. They repeated it over and over, dozens of voices, locked in a monotone cadence. Then came the part that haunts me to this day. They didn't sacrifice humans. That brings the FBI. They used animals, livestock, stray dogs, birds. That night it was a black goat. When the throat was cut, the blood didn't just pool on the table. The slate table had carved channels designed to direct the liquid. I sat directly beneath the drain hole. I felt it before I saw it. Warm, thick, and sticky, dripping directly onto the crown of my head, running down my forehead, blinding my eyes. I wasn't allowed to scream. If I screamed, my mother would lock me in the root cellar for 3 days without light. So I sat there, covered in dying heat, listening to 12 adults weep with joy because they thought they were buying another year of wealth and protection from the dark. The older I got, the more the illusion shattered. By 16, I knew this wasn't religion. It was madness, and I knew what was coming next. The order had a rule. When the vessel turns 18, they are no longer the anchor. They become the host. I didn't know exactly what that meant, but I had seen the older girls from the other families, the ones who reached 18. They changed. Their eyes went vacant. Within a year, 2 of them had accidentally drowned, and another was committed to a private asylum. They didn't survive the transition. I wasn't going to wait to see if I would. It took me 2 years to plan my escape. I couldn't use a computer. My dad monitored the router logs. I couldn't save money in a bank. They controlled my accounts. Instead, I stole cash. $50 from a purse here, $100 from the ritual offerings there. I hid the bills inside the hollow lining of my winter coat. The night of my 18th birthday was the night of the autumnal equinox, my initiation. The house was alive with preparation. I could hear them downstairs, dragging the heavy iron cauldrons. At 11 p.m., my mother came into my room. She brought the purple robe. "Put it on, sweetie," she said. Her eyes were bright, glassy, and completely devoid of maternal love. "Tonight, you belong to the root." "I need to use the bathroom first," I said. My voice was a whisper. I forced my hands to stop shaking. She nodded and waited outside the bathroom door. But I didn't go into the bathroom to use the toilet. Our bathroom had a small laundry chute that dropped straight down to the mudroom next to the garage. It was a tight squeeze, meant for dirty towels. I jammed my winter coat down first. Then I exhaled all the air from my lungs and squeezed myself into the wooden chute. I hit the pile of laundry downstairs hard, knocking the wind out of me. I didn't breathe. I grabbed the coat, slipped through the side door of the garage, and ran. I didn't take the road. They would hunt the road. I ran straight into the 5 acres of woods, the very woods where they buried the remnants of their rituals. It was pitch black. The branches tore at my face and hands. I could hear the wind howling through the trees, but to me it sounded like my father's chant. The earth remembers. The earth remembers. Behind me, the house lights began flashing. They knew I was gone. I ran for 3 miles through briars and mud until I hit the interstate. I didn't stop a car. I hid in the ditch until a long-haul semi-truck pulled over at a rest stop. I climbed into the wind deflector on the back of the cab while the driver was inside buying coffee. I rode that truck all the way to Ohio. That was 8 years ago. I changed my name. I got a fake social security number through a network that helps cult escapees. I worked under the table for years until I could build a real identity. I never went to the police. You have to understand, the local police chief in my hometown was one of the men in the circle. Who was going to believe a traumatized runaway teenager over the town's most prominent citizens? But survival isn't just about escaping the physical place. It's about surviving the mind. The rituals hunt me every single day. I can't tolerate the smell of scented candles. If I walk past a candle store in a mall, my throat closes up, and I start choking on the phantom taste of copper. If I hear monotone chanting, even in a song or a documentary, my body goes into a catatonic freeze state. My brain thinks I'm still under that slate table. Every night before I go to sleep, I check the corners of my ceiling. Why? Because during the rituals they used to hang dried crows from the rafters, and if one of them dropped on you, it was considered a bad omen. Sometimes I look out the window of my Chicago apartment, 30 stories up, and I wonder if they're still looking for me. A year ago, I received a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a small, dried piece of wood, a white root. I didn't panic. I didn't cry. I threw it down the trash chute, walked over to my safe, and checked my firearm. I am not that little girl beneath the table anymore. I am not the vessel. I am not the host. To anyone out there who is trapped in a family that feels more like a prison or a cult, they want you to believe they have power over the universe. They want you to believe they are gods. They aren't. They are just broken, terrified people hiding in the dark, playing with blood and dirt. You can run.